science. And while we are doing science today, I want you all to be thinking about that big question that we are going to be answering back here throughout this unit. The big question is, how do plants and animals grow and change? That is our big picture that we are going to be talking about. Who can remind me what we talked about yesterday? There was a big thing we talked about yesterday. Haley. Yes, and what are those? Before we get to those, what are those called, Freya? Good. Good. Okay, I love that you know the definition, but what are the two of these things? They're a specific thing. Like each of these things is in a category of something. Miles?
Physical characteristics.
Physical characteristics. Good job. Physical characteristics. Good. Those are both physical characteristics of animals, but can anybody name any other physical characteristics? Emmett, give me one.
Eyes.
Eyes, okay. You could base animals off their eyes. They have big eyes, they have small eyes. Siler?
Ears.
Ears. Okay, so we're thinking body parts here. How about something other than a body part? Ikra.
Reptiles.
Reptiles, okay, yeah. They have scales. We'll put scales. That's how we classify reptiles. They have scales. Chase?
Their color.
Their color. Good. I'm going to take two more. Then.
Maybe a pattern.
A pattern. Okay, so we didn't talk about that yesterday, but maybe the pattern of their fur, their feathers. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to take one more. Hannah. If they have fur. I'm also going to add feathers to this list. We talked about fur/feather. Great. Those are all physical characteristics that animals have and ways we can classify them. Now we're going to go back to our key terms here. We defined them earlier. Thank you, Freya. But I want to talk about it once more. So who can give me the definition of endoskeleton? How about you, Suhaib? What's endoskeleton? Good. Skeleton is inside the body. So the skeleton is inside. So if endo is skeleton inside, what's exoskeleton? Bill. Good. So exo is skeleton. Skeleton is outside. Those are two important terms that we talked about yesterday. And this last term we will talk about later today. Now I want everyone to look up at our I will know statement. So our I will know statement for today, I will know similarities and differences in the structures and functions of parts of plants and animals. So if yesterday we talked about animals, does anybody have a thought about what we're going to talk about today? Annika? Plants. That is exactly it. Today we are going to talk about the physical characteristics of plants. Okay, so Ms. Strauss is going to hand each of you a sheet of paper. When you receive that sheet of paper, I want you to put your name on the left-hand top corner. So you can take out your pencils, and that's all you're going to do with the sheet of paper is just write your name. You don't need to be talking while we're handing out paper. We just need to be getting our pencils out. I will turn them off. We're not using the projector quite yet. Take one and pass it down. Yep, in the left-hand top corner. Good. Once you're done writing your name, you can put your pencils down and eyes up your pages. looking for eyes on me. Once you write your name, pencils down. Give a few more seconds. So, in the top of this box, it says what I think a flower looks like. So I'm going to give you all about 5 minutes, and I want you to draw what you think a flower looks like. It doesn't have to be any specific way, but what do you, when you think of a flower, what do you think of? Go ahead and draw in the top box. Right, it's here. What you think of a
Physical
flower.
characteristics. What do you
Yep,
see?
what do you see when you think of a flower? You can name the flower if you want. You can say it's a rose or a tulip. You don't have to if you don't want to. But when you think of a flower physically, what does it look like? I'll give you about 5 minutes to do that. I'm seeing some really good drawings, 5th graders. What do you see? So maybe start with that. Start with the petals. Okay, I'm gonna give you about 30 seconds to finish up. Most of you look like you're pretty much done. Okay, so who remembers the call when I say 1, 2?
Eyes on you.
Okay, so let's try. 1, 2.
Eyes on you.
Perfect. So when I think of a flower, this is what I think of. See if it hops to the top. So when I think of a flower, this is what I drew when I thought of a flower. I think that a flower has a stem. It's got leaves. These are my petals. And then sometimes when I see flowers, they have these little things that I'm not really sure what they're called, but this is what I see when I picture a flower. I'm now going to show you a picture and a diagram of an actual flower. Oh, we got one here. So most of us, when we drew our flowers, we drew physical characteristics such as petals and stems, and we maybe had leaves. Somebody drew a pot, which was great. Freya drew roots, which I did not think of. But these terms up here are different parts of a flower, which can also be classified as physical characteristics. So we have this long thing, it's called the stigma and the style. We got the ovary of the flower. And they also labeled the petals. They did label the stem, but we have the stem down here, the sepal, stamen, and then the pistils, all 3 of these together. And then one thing we're going to focus on specifically today is the pollen tube of the flower. Yes, Emmett?
Alright. Are some of these still physical characteristics if we still can't see them though? Like
When we think of physical characteristics, they're usually things we can see. So it can be all of your senses. So if you can hear it, smell it, feel it, those would all be physical characteristics. But most of the time when you think of physical characteristics, it's something you can physically see. But sometimes sense can also be as well. Yes. Yep, that would be on. Good job. Okay, so we're gonna focus on the pollen tube of the flower right now. Does anybody know what the pollen tube on the flower is used for? Right? That's okay. You can think about it. Emmett.
To produce pollen for like bees.
Good. I like that word produce. If you look back over here on the board, the word reproduction is written. Reproduction is another physical characteristic of a flower that many of us maybe don't think about. Anybody know what reproduction is? We kind of talked about this yesterday with the male bunting. Sweet. Okay, so you're referring back to the male bunting, yeah? The male bunting had the beautiful feathers that helped with the mating process, and that's how they did reproduction. Well, the flower uses the pollen tube and the pollen that is on the end of the pollen tube to transfer to other flowers and reproduce to make other flowers that look identical to it. So the term reproduction is, the definition for it is living things that can make other living things similar to themselves. Okay? So to go a little bit further in our exploration of the flower, I actually brought in flowers for us all to look at and observe, specifically their physical characteristics. So I'm going to hand each of you one flower. Now these flowers, they aren't as detailed as the parts of the flowers on the diagram up there. But in that second box on your sheet, I want you to draw the flower that you were given as specifically and detailed as you can. Try to identify all the physical characteristics of this flower, okay? Once again, you don't need to talk when you do this, guys. Yep. Well, then look at the flower you have and try to get on the bottom. It is real. Once we're done, if you want to keep your flowers, you sure can. But, okay, so I want you to draw and detail your flowers. You got that right. It'll be the second part of your worksheet. I want you to draw these flowers as detailed as you can. Really try to pick out the different physical characteristics of the flower. Yeah? They're not going to be as detailed as the characteristics of the flower diagram that I showed you, but they should have a few similar characteristics. Yeah. If you want, so Emmett was talking about earlier about the characteristics being like scent or smell. If you want to smell your flower and write in the box what you think your flower smells like, that would also, that'd be perfect. We're done. Okay, is there anything I want you to draw?
Oh, I have a list and I know how many characteristics what they smell and if they want.
Try to be as detailed as possible.
She's doing it better than Beth does.
Okay, good.
It's, this gets so good for them to read. Just this way. Just sit right up, so it's like this is intent. Yeah.
It that you don't think it smells good? I mean,
No.
some people, okay. I kind of like the smell of flowers. What do you got going on? Why don't we start with it? Oh, you throw it there. You bring it down there.
I'm not the greatest artist in the world.
I love your drawing. I think you're doing really good. Okay, so you have, let's see your flower. Oh, you got the center part there. What else is on the flower? How old are you? I'm trying to stand it. Petals? Okay, so what shape are they kind of? Oval. Maybe you can take this one and trace it. You want to try tracing the petal. That might help you. Good. Some people are labeling their physical characteristics on the side of the box. That's really good. They're labeling. Labeling is always really good. You're drawing very detailed. I like it. Okay, so I'll stop. You can write that down. You're going to have about 2 more minutes to finish this up.
Actually working. Right?
Fifth graders, Umi just pointed something out and asked me a really good question. On these flowers, even though these flowers are different from the ones that have the stamen and the pistils that are so intricate, the pollen tubes on these flowers are in this center part. So they don't look specifically like the ones on the diagram, but they're the center part. And she said that they feel soft, and if you rub your finger in there hard enough, the pollen might come off. Good observation. Okay, have 1 more minute to finish on. Smells like fall.
Ooh, can we keep some of the seeds? Smells like college. Yeah, but it's
Clap once if you can hear my voice.
I can't.
Clap twice if you can hear my voice. Clap 3 times. Thank you, 5th graders. Eyes up here. You all have drawn really great pictures of flowers. I like it. Emmett, can you bring your eyes up here, please? Thank you. So, we're just going to go over the terms once more, because these are all really important terms that we learned throughout this lesson within these 2 days. Endoskeleton. Skeleton is inside. Exoskeleton. Skeleton is outside. Reproduction. Plants that share, the process of plants sharing similar features through fertilization. Okay? For your exit ticket today, I want you to flip over this worksheet, and I want you to copy these definitions. I will write the reproduction on there. I want you to copy the definitions, and then once you're done, set them up here on the rocking chair. You can throw all 3 of these definitions. You can throw your flower petals away, and then you can take out a book to silent read before we get ready to go to lunch in about. If you want to keep it, you can keep it, but while we're working on our other lessons, you need to keep it in your desk. Please. Are there any questions? Okay, I will write this 3rd definition down.
If you ripped up your flower, it needs to go in the garbage because it's very messy. So that needs to go in the garbage. You won't be able to keep that one.
I did not.
As long as it's not ripped up in the
I did